Tyler Perry was once thought to be the golden go-to. When Harry and Meghan opted out of the monarchy and ran off from the UK in an avalanche of sky-high drama, headline alerts, and security issues, it wasn't the palace that came to their rescue. It was Tyler, Hollywood's billionaire fairy godfather, who arrived like a hero and offered them protection, privacy, and indulgence equal to, if not better than, what the crown could offer. His luxury mansion in Beverly Hills became their home, private jet was at their service, and bodyguards were with them to look after their safety and security. And in a few very short weeks, the Sussexes were as close to royal living as they could get, except without the royals. It was a great arrangement, and for a while, it all worked really well. Tyler wasn't merely a host, he became family too. Harry was vocal about this, and Meghan made it official by blessing Tyler with the title of godfather to baby Lilith, a title that means a great deal to the royal family. Cameras were rolling, smiles were abundant, and gifts for the baby were exchanged. Perry was gleeful and expressed on Netflix about being asked and committed to supporting the little one for life. It was emotional, polished, and neatly tied together in their story of empowerment and chosen family. But then there was the lawsuit. Unbelievably, Tyler Perry was slapped with a civil lawsuit for $260 million by actor Derek Dixon, who alleged he was involved in a toxic, bullying, and career-ending hostile workplace. Emails, text messages, and production notes began to pile up like wood for a campfire, and the next morning a story broke portraying the kind billionaire as a Hollywood tyrant. And what did Meghan do? Not a statement, not a comment, but simply deleted him. Within hours of the news breaking, Perry's name had completely disappeared from Meghan's curated life on the internet. Images of him were removed from her nostalgic reels, and even the genuine post about the title of Godfather went poof. Any mention in the press was deleted, and even Princess Elizabeth's Wikipedia entry was quietly changed from is to was. Social media caught on quickly, and screenshots started to circulate. The question, "Where's Uncle Tyler?" was trending, while Meghan's team was silent. Now, here is where it gets interesting. While Meghan was digitally unpersoning the man who had provided refuge from the most difficult time in her life, Tyler kept all of the receipts, all the photos, all the drafts, and every other behind-the-scenes documentation, secure and legally protected. Buried in the Goodwill documentation, there was one important piece of information: a confidentiality clause that could completely change the trajectory of this story. Reportedly, every guest visited Perry's mansion and signing confidentiality, the standard do not leak, do not post, do not betray. The surprise was that in the confidentiality agreement there was a little gem that was almost eerie. If there is public disavowal between the contracting parties, the non-defaulting party can speak on the record, not as casual conversation protected, but as talking to a public venue with protection. It protects their reputations and provides the context of private insight. In Perry's case, that means every tear-filled conversation, every pitch deck brainstorming session, every whispered time spent together during those nights in Monaco would in fact be protected. Surely it's a detail that Meghan's team wished they hadn't overlooked. Once Perry was removed from the brand, the attorneys began speculating. If he feels betrayed, and the signs suggest he does, there is always the option to go public, not on Instagram in some vague way, but on television, in a sit-down interview nationally on television, in which he will give his unedited truths. Rumors suggest that producers are making their way to him with blank checks and projections for ratings. One joked that this could be bigger than Oprah. Meanwhile, Harry remains gobsmacked. He owes Perry his safety, his family is at peace. But Meghan controls the story, the deals, and the plan, which is not hard to understand. Remove any possible liability before it destroys the brand. This means Perry simply has to go, no matter what input or knowledge he has. And this is the problem. Tyler Perry does not just know where the bodies are buried, he gave the shovels. He saw the unprocessed, raw moments, the genuine stress, and the anxiety that happened right after the royal exit. If he were to speak, then the whole fairy tale would be rewritten. In addition to all this, Meghan's new empire, with her lifestyle products, podcasts, and media, could suffer consequences from this. This is not just severing, it is severing ties with a person who knows the real truth. Tyler Perry never wanted a royal title and never thought he'd end up being the leading voice for Meghan Markle's damage control plan. But there was a shift when his name was being deleted from the christening photographs and references as Godfather, like it never continued to exist. Perry, is insiders say, furious. Not only does he feel used, but with how quickly Meghan was willing to erase Perry from history in order to protect her PR image. Perry was, in one moment, a person who saved her family. And then the next, a liability to be hidden and erased. Then came the mistake. Someone in Meghan's crisis management firm apparently attempted to secretly unpublish an old press release from the Duke and Duchess of Sussex that named Tyler as Lilibet's godfather. However, what we can't do is erase it. Instead of disappearing from sites, it was cached, screenshotted, and set out by royal trackers. Online detectives started to piece together a timeline as to the point Meghan publicly acknowledged and celebrated Perry, up until the point he filed a lawsuit, and then how she began to erase him from stories online, as though he was nothing more than a bad dream. That deleting frenzy did no favors because not only did it look like the Sussexes were distancing themselves from Perry, but it implied they were guilty of something. Perry has been in a strong position. He wasn't just a host. He had sat in on meetings, breakdowns, back channels, and was involved in strategy discussions when the Sussexes were developing their docuseries for Netflix. He saw it all, and most importantly, he heard it all. So far, he has remained quiet, but his team has started to reach out to see if there is interest in a sit-down that would tell it all. Spoiler alert, there is interest. One executive at a major network is claimed to have said, "It is the most awaited betrayal story since Oprah's couch." It's not just gossip. Perry could change the entire Majid story. Imagine Perry publishing the late-night conversations he had with Meghan about her struggles with royal staff, or Harry's worry about the media. Now imagine if he was holding the NDA and felt it was his golden opportunity to speak freely. Meghan's teams are now freaking out. Sources say she is telling brand partners to fill her public channels again with lifestyle content, recipes, skincare, wellness, anything to drown the headlines out. Her Instagram feed is now pastel and polished with happy pictures and garden clothes. She can barely post anything without the comment section usually asking one question: where's Tyler? And even the sponsors are feeling uncomfortable. A luxury fashion brand has reportedly pressed pause on any campaigns with Meghan until this passes. Behind the scenes, PR people are worried. The story is not only messy, it is becoming toxic, and Meghan's silence is her people calculating how this plays out. When your entire brand is based on loyalty, empowerment, and authenticity, ignoring your child's godfather when it's not on message sends the wrong message. In the meantime, Harry is struggling deeply. Friends say he is confused, angry at one time, despondent the next. He still remembers Perry offering them refuge when his father would not listen to them. That is not something that can be undone. But Meghan is categorical. No relationships that could harm her size. She is not just burning the emotional bridges with Perry, she is erecting legal barriers too. Private discussions have started with their lawyers to explore the ramifications if Perry chooses to speak. Can they challenge the NDA? Can they seal off any discussion? The harsh reality is that they cannot. Principally because if Perry takes the chance to talk, he can justify the topic of fames for his own protection, and that is entirely lawful. And he knows that too. There is still discussions. Perry's team continues to create an archive of documents, audio notes, texts, and emails that show his close relationship with the couple. He is not trying to get back at anyone, but rather make sure he has something to fall back on. If Meghan continues to act like he was never part of the family, he is more than happy to remind the world just how involved he was. Each headline, every photo taken down, and each moment of silence makes Perry increasingly closer to the microphone. The phones have not stopped ringing at Perry's office. Media outlets, PR firms, and talent managers all want to get in on the action. Tyler has not issued any public statements yet, but in private, Tyler's team has already decided to dissect the offers. One network is so interested in securing the history that they have even offered a sit-down interview which is so explosive that they have even gone as far as to hold the studio now in anticipation. If Perry speaks, it will not be wishy-washy and sugar-coated. He has files, audio recordings, signed cards, and meticulous logs on the when and how Harry and Meghan depended on him. A source, who is familiar with how the negotiations proceeded, said he is no longer going to be a fool. There are more concerns than how this looks in the public view. Perry built his brand and reputation on trust. He was known for creating safe spaces, positive stories, and loyalty. Being publicly discarded and dispossessed by people he provided shelter to cut to the quick on Perry. This is not just about a betrayal for Perry, it's branding suicide. Meghan's team might think they are protecting her from collateral, but they have grossly miscalculated just how personal this is for Perry. Then there is also the complex legal issues surrounding the NDA clause he had found in the past. If Meghan quietly erases Perry, this might have triggered this clause. And if Meghan publicly disowns Perry, he will have a great deal of legal protection to disclose. This would not be a leak or signal, but tangible representation, including emails, voice notes, and the strife which happened behind the scenes, can destroy any little facade. The concern for Meghan is more than embarrassment. It strikes at exposure. Rebranding doesn't just represent her, but now all of the effort she has put into her new podcast, wellness products, and lifestyle has been shattered as a result. The base is based on a person that is honest, kind, and empowering. If Perry has a history of being manipulative, ghosting people, and strategically cutting ties with past relationships, it could be impossible to recover from, especially when you consider the serious ramifications for her public persona and, in general, business prospects. Market research firms and analysts are already reporting brand sentiment is down. It is not just doubt, it is fury. This is bigger than the lawsuit. It's about the history. Consider the cases of Jessica Mulroney, Serena Williams, and Oprah, former stars in Meghan's squad who are now hardly mentioned. Each relationship cooled at the first sign of controversy and/or inconvenience. Additionally, Tyler Perry, who literally provided shelter, is under siege in real time. Even Harry's closest friends are beginning to notice. Former classmates and military buddies have allegedly complained privately about the inconsistency in their loyalty that appears to come with every decision they make. This is not just chaotic optics, but isolating. It is hard to maintain a public persona of empowerment when your most common action is to reject people from your life the second they no longer have public relations value. Perry is clearly aware of all of this dynamic, every whisper of last-minute brand shift, the urgent meetings that take place when something does not coordinate to the Duchess. He has the context and flexibility to reframe the entire conversation around Meghan. The survivor is Meghan the strategic. This is why Hollywood has been treating this situation as if it were a thriller, not just entertainment value, but for the president. If Perry speaks and the public buys into him, there is a message to all other power brokers. Reputational spin is not immune. No matter how close you are to royalty, you have a long way to go when the attribution is this personal. Meanwhile, it seems the palace is nearly enjoying the show. Those who warned Harry against Hollywood entanglements now seem to be passing the scones while reciting headlines in the marble hallways. William's PR staff must be over the moon privately excited on Harry and Meghan's missteps. With every stumble the Sussexes make, William's image of stability keeps getting stronger and stronger. There have been whispers from sources close to King Charles that he is positive they are drifting away from the Sussexes, while hoping the Sussex circus continues to play out without royal commentary, knowing it will all change back again, and people will forget about the Sussexes. Meanwhile, back in Monaco, Harry is looking down on a collapsing structure. And Harry knows Perry has every reason to spill, because if he does, it is not only Meghan's proverbial empire won't be storm, but it can also bring down their entire public narrative, rewritten, unrecoupable, and possibly unforgivable.